Chapter 2: The Celestial Realms. 5 years passed. The shinobi world entered the greatest era of peace in its history. The 5 great nations no longer fought each other. Children from every village studied together. The Akatsuki existed only in history books. Naruto had grown into one of the strongest shinobi alive. His flying thunder god had nearly reached Minato's level. His sage mode had evolved beyond anything Jiraiya had imagined. And every day, he carried the mysterious black crystal the shadow had entrusted to him. It had remained silent for 5 years. Until tonight. Naruto stood alone on the Hokage monument, watching the stars. Suddenly, the crystal began glowing. A deep hum echoed across the mountain. The air itself started bending. Naruto quickly called out, "Dad!" A golden flash appeared beside him. Minato instantly sensed the strange energy. The key. It's activating. The crystal floated into the air. A massive circle of golden symbols formed above Konoha. Lightning danced between the stars. The sky slowly opened like a giant door. Beyond it, a breathtaking city floated among galaxies. Mountains drifted through space. Rivers of light flowed between floating islands. Gigantic dragons flew peacefully through the heavens. Naruto whispered, "So, this is the celestial realm." A beam of silver light descended from the sky. Orion stepped out. He smiled warmly. "Welcome. Your world has officially been invited." Minato looked at him. "Invited where?" Orion extended his hand. "To the Assembly of Worlds. The greatest gathering in existence." Within minutes, Naruto, Minato, Sasuke, Sakura, Kakashi, Gaara, and the 5 Kage stood inside the floating city. None of them could believe what they were seeing. Thousands of beings walked through enormous streets. Some looked human, some had wings, others were made entirely of crystal or living light. Yet everyone lived together peacefully. Naruto smiled. "So many worlds." Orion nodded. "Over 10,000 civilizations. And each one has its own heroes." A loud horn echoed across the city. Every conversation stopped. Massive golden doors slowly opened. Inside stood an enormous hall filled with rulers from countless universes. At the center, 2 empty thrones awaited. Orion whispered, "The first light and the first shadow have departed. The assembly now seeks new guardians." Quote. Naruto frowned. "What does that have to do with us?" Before Orion could answer, a familiar voice echoed through the hall. "It has everything to do with you." Naruto turned. Standing at the entrance, smiling confidently, was Zero. But he had changed. The darkness surrounding him had vanished. His eyes were blue once again. He wore a simple white cloak instead of black robes. Naruto smiled. "You changed." Zero laughed. "You reminded me who I used to be." He walked toward the center of the hall. "The assembly has reached a decision." Every ruler stood. The silence became absolute. Zero looked directly at Naruto. "Naruto Uzumaki, the universe offers you a place among the guardians. If you accept, you will protect not one world, but all worlds." Naruto looked at Minato. Minato smiled proudly. "No matter what you choose, I'll always be proud of you." Naruto took a deep breath. Before he could answer, a deafening explosion shook the entire celestial realm. The floating city trembled violently. Alarm bells echoed everywhere. One by one, thousands of stars began turning red. Orion's face turned pale. "No, they found us." Zero clenched his fists. "Impossible, they should still be sealed." Quote. A terrified messenger rushed into the hall. "The outer void has fallen. The prison is broken." Naruto looked around. "Who escaped?" The messenger struggled to speak. "The ancient titans have returned, far beyond the celestial realm. In the endless darkness between universes." A gigantic eye slowly opened. It was larger than an entire planet. Its owner smiled. "So, the child of hope has finally reached the stars." Quote. The third trial had silently begun. Chapter 3: The Ancient Titans. The celestial realm was in chaos. Golden towers shook. Bridges of light collapsed between floating islands. Thousands of beings rushed toward enormous transport gates as warning bells echoed across the city. Naruto stood in the center of the assembly hall. "What are the ancient titans?" No one answered immediately. Even the strongest rulers looked afraid. Finally, Orion spoke. "They existed before the celestial realm." Quote. "Before the guardians. Before the first civilizations." Naruto frowned. "Then why were they sealed?" Zero answered. "Because they don't conquer worlds. They consume them. Dash dash dash. A massive screen appeared above the assembly. It showed countless universes. One by one, darkness spread across them. Stars disappeared. Planets became lifeless. Entire civilizations vanished without leaving a trace. Sakura covered her mouth. How many worlds? Orion looked at the screen. Thousands. Sasuke activated his Rinnegan. That's impossible. Zero shook his head. Not for them. They don't need armies. They don't need weapons. Quote, they simply arrive. And everything dies. Naruto clenched his fists. Then we stop them. A few rulers looked toward him. One of them laughed. Your world has only recently entered the celestial realm. Quote, you cannot possibly challenge the Titans. Naruto looked at the ruler calmly. We defeated the Devourer. We survived the Eclipsed Ones. And we didn't do it alone. Minato stepped forward. He's right. The fourth Hokage's voice echoed across the hall. If your worlds are in danger, then the shinobi world will fight. One by one, the 5 Kage stepped forward. Gaara raised his hand. The sand stands with Naruto. The Raikage crossed his arms. Cloud 2. The other Kage nodded. Soon, every shinobi from the delegation stood together. The assembly became silent. Zero smiled. Now that's the spirit I remember. Dash dash dash. Suddenly, a deafening roar came from outside. The entire city shook. The massive windows of the assembly hall shattered. Everyone looked toward the sky. 3 enormous figures had appeared beyond the floating city. The first was covered in crimson armor. The second had wings larger than mountains. The third was completely invisible. Only 2 enormous eyes could be seen floating in space. Orion whispered, the Titans. Naruto looked at the 3 beings. Which one is the strongest? Zero answered quietly. None of them. Naruto turned toward him. Zero pointed toward the darkness behind the Titans. They're only the scouts. The entire assembly fell silent. A gigantic shadow slowly emerged behind them. It was so enormous that planets appeared like small stones beside it. Its body was covered in ancient symbols. 6 glowing eyes opened across its face. Every guardian in the city dropped to one knee. Orion whispered, that is the Titan King. Naruto's expression hardened. Then he's the one we'll fight. Minato grabbed Naruto's shoulder. Not alone. Naruto smiled. Never. Dash dash dash. The Titan King raised one hand. A wave of darkness traveled through space. Every defensive barrier around the celestial realm shattered simultaneously. The assembly hall began collapsing. Orion shouted, everyone evacuate. Naruto immediately formed shadow clones. Everyone move. Hundreds of clones appeared across the city. Some carried injured civilians. Others repaired barriers. Minato teleported between the collapsing structures, rescuing people before they fell. Sasuke opened portals to move entire groups to safety. Gaara created enormous walls of sand around the evacuation routes. For several minutes, the shinobi world worked together with the celestial guardians. Then the Titan King spoke. His voice wasn't loud, yet every universe heard it. Children, you protect a dying universe. Quote, Naruto looked toward the enormous being. This universe isn't dying. The Titan King laughed. It will. Naruto raised his hand. Golden chakra began surrounding his body. Then we'll save it. Dash dash dash. The Titan King suddenly disappeared. Naruto's eyes widened. Where did he go? Minato instantly sensed something. Naruto. Behind you. Naruto turned. A massive fist was already descending. Naruto crossed his arms. Boom. The impact sent him flying through several floating islands. Naruto. Minato vanished. He appeared beside his son and caught him before he fell into space. Naruto coughed. That hurt. Minato looked toward the Titan King. This enemy is beyond anything we've faced. Naruto slowly stood. Blood ran down his face. But he smiled. Then I guess we'll have to become stronger. Quote, the black crystal in Naruto's pocket suddenly began glowing. A voice echoed inside his mind. It was the first shadow. Naruto, the time has come. Unlock the final power of the legacy seal. Quote, Naruto's eyes widened. The final power. The voice answered, yes, but once you awaken it, there will be no way back. Naruto looked at the Titan King. Then at his father. Then at the countless worlds behind him. He closed his eyes. I've already made my choice. The golden legacy seal began spreading across his entire body. And somewhere beyond the universe, something ancient, something even the Titans feared, slowly awakened. The final power of the legacy seal. The golden symbol spread across Naruto's body. His chakra rose so quickly that the entire celestial realm began shaking. Minato looked at him with concern. Naruto, stop. We don't know what that power will do to you. Naruto looked at his father. I know, but if I don't use it, everyone here could die. The black crystal floated above Naruto's hand. A deep voice echoed through his mind. You have reached the final stage of the legacy seal. To awaken it, you must connect your chakra with the will of every world that chose to stand beside you. Naruto closed his eyes. He could hear thousands of voices. People from the shinobi world. The celestial guardians. The 5 great nations. The tailed beasts. Even people from the timelines that had once been destroyed. They were all connected through the seal. Naruto slowly raised his hand. I don't need their power. I need their trust. The golden symbol suddenly changed. The chakra surrounding Naruto became calm. Instead of becoming larger, it became denser. His entire body was covered in a thin golden aura. Sasuke stared at him. This chakra feels different. Kakashi nodded. It isn't just chakra anymore. Minato understood immediately. He has connected his will to everyone who believes in him. The Titan King watched Naruto from across the celestial realm. For the first time, the enormous creature became serious. You have awakened the Guardian's legacy. Naruto looked directly at him. I didn't awaken it for myself. I awakened it to protect everyone. The Titan King raised his enormous hand. A dark sphere formed above his palm. The sphere grew larger than the entire floating city. Orion shouted, everyone get behind the barrier. The Titan King released the attack. A wave of darkness rushed toward the celestial realm. Naruto stepped forward. He didn't create a giant attack. He simply raised one hand. The golden aura around him expanded into a massive shield. The darkness collided with it. The entire universe shook. Naruto's feet slowly moved backward. Blood appeared on his forehead. Minato shouted, Naruto. Naruto gritted his teeth. I won't move. The Titan King increased the power of the attack. The golden shield began cracking. Naruto remembered his childhood. He remembered Minato teaching him to believe in himself. He remembered Kushina's words. He remembered Sasuke's rivalry, Sakura's friendship, Kakashi's lessons, Jiraiya's sacrifice, every person who had ever believed in him. Naruto smiled. I am not standing here alone. The golden shield suddenly became brighter. The darkness shattered. The explosion sent a shockwave across the celestial realm. When the light disappeared, Naruto was still standing. The Titan King looked at him in silence. Then Naruto vanished. Flying Thunder God. He appeared directly above the Titan King's head. The Titan King tried to strike him. Naruto disappeared again. Another Flying Thunder God mark appeared on the Titan's shoulder. Then another on his chest. Then another on his arm. Within seconds, hundreds of golden marks surrounded the Titan King. Minato watched in amazement. He's using my technique. Kakashi smiled. No, quote, he's evolved it. Naruto raised his hand. Flying Thunder God. Infinite network. Every mark activated simultaneously. Golden chains erupted from every direction. They wrapped around the Titan King's enormous body. The creature roared. The entire celestial realm shook. But the chains continued tightening. Naruto shouted, everyone, now. The 5 Kage attacked together. Sasuke opened a dimensional portal beneath the Titan King. Gaara's sand trapped one of his legs. The celestial guardians released their strongest attacks. Even the tailed beasts fired their combined chakra. The Titan King was finally pushed backward. But he did not fall. Instead, he laughed. Excellent. You have proven that this universe is worthy. Naruto froze. What did you say? The Titan King slowly lowered his hand. I was never here to destroy you. I was testing whether your world could stand against the threats beyond the stars. Quote, the 3 smaller titans disappeared. Their bodies transformed into streams of silver light. The enormous Titan King also began fading. Orion stared in disbelief. You were testing us. The Titan King nodded. Yes, the universe is entering a new age. The old guardians are disappearing. New guardians must rise. His gaze moved toward Naruto. You have passed. A golden symbol appeared on Naruto's forehead. The shinobi world is now recognized as a guardian world. The Titan King vanished completely. The celestial realm became peaceful again. Naruto looked at Minato. So it's over. Minato smiled. For today. Quote, but before anyone could celebrate, the black crystal suddenly cracked. Everyone turned toward it. A tiny voice came from inside. Dad. Naruto froze. The voice sounded exactly like his own. Then the crystal shattered. A small boy with blonde hair stepped out. He looked around the celestial realm. Then he looked directly at Naruto. Are you really my father? Naruto's eyes widened. Minato immediately moved in front of him. Who are you? The boy smiled. I am Naruto Uzumaki, but I am from the future. The entire celestial realm became silent. The future had just arrived. The future son. The boy stood silently before Naruto. He looked about 8 years old. Blonde hair, blue eyes, 3 whisker marks on each cheek. There was no doubt, he was a younger version of Naruto. Naruto stared at him. You said you're from the future. Quote. The boy nodded. My name is Ren Uzumaki. Ren. Naruto looked confused. Why do you have my surname? The boy smiled. Because you're my father. Naruto froze. Minato looked at the boy carefully. Who is your mother? Ren became silent. His expression suddenly changed. My mother is Hinata Hyuga. Naruto's face turned red. Sasuke immediately started laughing. Kakashi covered his eye with his hand. Well, that explains a few things. Naruto shouted. Why is everyone looking at me like that? Ren laughed. You haven't changed at all. Naruto pointed toward him. Wait, if you're my son, why did you come here? Quote. Ren's smile disappeared. Because my future is being destroyed. The room became silent. Ren explained that he came from a timeline almost 30 years in the future. In his world, Naruto had become Hokage. Peace had lasted for many years. The 5 nations had remained united. Naruto and Sasuke had become legendary protectors. But then something happened. A mysterious enemy appeared. It didn't attack villages. It didn't attack people. Instead, it attacked memories. People slowly forgot their families. They forgot their friends. They forgot their own identities. Eventually, entire cities became filled with people who didn't remember why they existed. Ren looked down. My world is disappearing. Naruto clenched his fists. Who is doing this? Ren shook his head. We don't know. Every time we discover something, the memory disappears. Minato looked at the black crystal. How did you travel here? Ren pointed toward it. The guardian key. It was passed down through our family. I was told that if the future ever began collapsing, I had to find the first Naruto. Naruto looked at Ren. Why me? Ren smiled. Because you're the only person who can change the future without destroying it. Suddenly, the lights inside the assembly hall went out. Everyone became alert. Sasuke activated his Rinnegan. I sensed something. A dark mist appeared behind Ren. Naruto immediately grabbed the boy and moved away. A figure stepped out of the mist. It wore a long gray cloak. Its face was hidden. Ren began trembling. No. Naruto looked at him. You know that person. Ren nodded. That's the one. The person destroying my future. The mysterious figure slowly raised its head. A pair of blue eyes appeared beneath the hood. Naruto stared at the stranger. Those eyes looked exactly like his own. The stranger smiled. Hello, Naruto. Naruto tightened his fist. Who are you? Quote. The stranger removed the hood. Everyone gasped. It was an older version of Naruto. But unlike Ren's future, this Naruto looked completely different. His hair was longer. His face was covered with scars. A black mark ran across his eye. He wore a dark Hokage cloak. Ren stepped backward. Father. The older Naruto looked at him. You shouldn't have come here. Naruto looked shocked. You're me. The older Naruto nodded. I am the Naruto who failed. Minato stepped forward. What happened to your world? The older Naruto looked toward him. You survived. His voice became cold. That's where everything went wrong. Quote. Minato's expression hardened. What do you mean? The older Naruto raised his hand. A massive black sphere appeared above the city. You changed the original timeline. You saved Kushina. You saved yourself. Quote. You changed Naruto's childhood. And every change created another future. Naruto stepped forward. So you blame my father? The older Naruto looked directly at him. I don't blame him. I blame fate. Quote. He closed his fist. The black sphere began expanding. I spent my entire life trying to create a perfect future. But every future failed, so I found the only solution. Naruto's eyes narrowed. What solution? The older Naruto smiled sadly. Erase every memory of pain. Erase every memory of loss. Erase every memory of failure. Then no one will ever suffer again. Naruto shook his head. That's not peace. The older Naruto looked at him. Then stop me. The black sphere exploded above the celestial realm. Every person inside the city suddenly forgot why they were fighting. Sasuke lowered his weapon. Kakashi looked around in confusion. Minato stared at Naruto. Who are you? Naruto's heart broke. His own father had forgotten him. Ren grabbed Naruto's hand. Don't let go. Naruto looked at him. Ren's eyes filled with tears. You're the only person I still remember. Naruto clenched his fist. I won't let him take you too. The legacy seal on Naruto's body began glowing again. The battle against his own future had begun. The battle against the forgotten future. The celestial realm had become completely silent. Thousands of people stood motionless. They had forgotten their names. They had forgotten their families. They had forgotten why they were fighting. Naruto looked at Minato. His father was standing only a few meters away, but there was no recognition in his eyes. Dad. Minato stared at him. Who are you? Those 3 words hurt Naruto more than any attack. Ren held Naruto's hand tightly. Don't worry, I still remember you. Naruto looked at the boy. Then I'll protect you. Across the ruined hall, the older Naruto watched them. You understand now. Memories are the source of suffering. Naruto shook his head. No, memories are what make us who we are. The older Naruto smiled sadly. I used to believe that too. He raised his hand. Thousands of black threads appeared across the city. Every thread connected to a person's head. Ren screamed. He's stealing their memories. Naruto immediately created hundreds of shadow clones. Stop him. The clones attacked the black threads. But every time a thread was destroyed, 2 more appeared. The older Naruto watched calmly. You cannot save everyone. Naruto shouted. I don't have to do it alone. He slammed his palm against the ground. The legacy seal activated. Golden symbols spread throughout the celestial realm. Every person connected to the black thread suddenly saw a small memory. A mother holding her child. A friend laughing. A teacher helping a student. A shinobi protecting his village. A brother forgiving his brother. The memories were painful, but they were also beautiful. People began remembering. Sasuke suddenly looked at Naruto. Naruto. Kakashi touched his forehead. Team 7. Minato's eyes widened. Naruto. Naruto turned toward his father. Dad. Minato smiled. I remember. Naruto's eyes filled with tears. Minato rushed forward and hugged him. I'm sorry. Naruto shook his head. You came back. Quote. That's all that matters. The older Naruto looked away. For the first time, his confidence disappeared. You really think memories can save them? Naruto released Minato and faced his older self. No, people save each other. The older Naruto's black chakra exploded. Then prove it. He disappeared. Naruto barely blocked his punch. Boom. The impact sent Naruto across the hall. He crashed through a stone wall. Ren shouted, Father. The older Naruto appeared beside him. Ren looked terrified. You destroyed my world. The older Naruto stared at his son. I was trying to save you. You never saved me. Ren's voice broke. You erased my mother's memories. You erased my childhood. You made everyone forget who I was. A tear rolled down the older Naruto's face. I thought I was protecting you. Ren shook his head. I didn't need a perfect life. I needed my father. The older Naruto froze. Those words reached a part of him that had been buried for years. Naruto slowly stood. He walked toward his future self. You heard him. You didn't need to erase the pain. You needed to stay beside him. The older Naruto lowered his head. I was afraid. Naruto nodded. So was I. But my father taught me something. Quote, being afraid doesn't mean you stop moving forward. The black chakra around the older Naruto began disappearing. His eyes returned to normal. For a moment, he looked like Naruto again. Then the sky cracked. A massive black symbol appeared above the celestial realm. Everyone looked upward. Ren's face turned pale. That's impossible. Naruto looked at him. What is it? Ren whispered. The real enemy. Quote, the older Naruto suddenly looked terrified. No. The symbol expanded. A voice echoed across every universe. You finally understand. You were never the enemy. I needed you to believe you were. Quote, the black symbol transformed into a giant eye. Naruto felt a terrifying chakra. The older Naruto stared at the sky. He's here. Naruto asked. Who? The older Naruto answered quietly. The one who created my future. Quote, The one who has been manipulating every timeline. The true enemy. The giant eye opened completely. A voice echoed through the celestial realm. Hello, Naruto Uzumaki. Let us see whether the son of Minato can survive the truth. Quote, the legacy seal began burning on Naruto's body. And for the first time, even the first shadow's voice inside Naruto's mind became silent. The true enemy. The giant eye above the celestial realm continued to expand. Its presence covered the sky like a second moon. Every guardian felt the same thing. Fear. Even the older Naruto, who had fought countless enemies across different timelines, was trembling. Naruto looked at him. You know who that is? The older Naruto nodded. I know. His name is Veyron. He is the architect of timelines. Naruto frowned. Architect. The older Naruto explained. Veyron doesn't control people. Quote, he creates their futures. He chooses which events happen, which people survive, and which worlds disappear. Minato stepped forward. Then he has been controlling history. Veyron's voice echoed across the sky. Not controlling. Designing. A massive figure slowly emerged from the giant eye. He wore silver armor covered with countless glowing symbols. Behind him floated thousands of small spheres. Each sphere contained an entire timeline. Naruto looked at them. Those are worlds. Veyron smiled. Yes, I created them. Every victory, every defeat, every war, every peaceful era, all of it was part of my design. Sasuke activated his Rinnegan. Then why create suffering? Veyron looked at him. Because without suffering, people never change. Naruto clenched his fists. That's not your decision to make. Veyron smiled. That is where you were wrong. Quote, he raised one hand. The entire celestial realm froze. People stopped moving. Even Naruto couldn't move. Only Veyron could walk. He approached Naruto. You survived because Minato changed one event. Quote, your world became unpredictable. You created new possibilities. That is why I have been watching you. Veyron touched Naruto's forehead. The legacy seal suddenly disappeared. Naruto's eyes widened. What did you do? I removed your protection. Veyron stepped back. Now you are only Naruto Uzumaki. No guardian power. No legacy seal. No connection to other worlds. Only your own strength. Quote, Naruto looked at his hands. The golden chakra was gone. The older Naruto whispered, he's testing you. Veyron smiled. Exactly. He snapped his fingers. The frozen world began moving again. A massive portal opened behind Naruto. Inside it was a dark battlefield. Naruto could see countless versions of himself fighting. Some were heroes. Some were villains. Some had become Hokage. Some had become enemies of the world. Veyron pointed toward the portal. Every possible Naruto exists there. Choose one. Naruto looked confused. Why? Because you cannot defeat me. But perhaps another version of yourself can. Naruto shook his head. I don't need another version of me. I'll fight you myself. Veyron laughed. Even without your special power. Naruto smiled. I was Naruto before I had any special power. Quote, Minato smiled proudly. That's my son. Naruto reached for his kunai. His flying thunder god markings were gone. His legacy seal was gone. He had no special protection. Only his training, his determination, and the people standing behind him. Veyron raised his hand, then proved that an ordinary shinobi can defeat the architect of destiny. The battlefield transformed. Naruto and Veyron appeared on a massive floating platform surrounded by endless stars. No armies, no guardians, no tailed beasts, only two people. Veyron looked at Naruto. You have one chance. Naruto tightened his grip on the kunai. I only need one. Veyron disappeared. Naruto barely moved in time. A punch struck the ground where his head had been. The platform shattered. Naruto jumped backward. Veyron appeared behind him again. Naruto threw a kunai. Veyron caught it. You cannot win. Naruto smiled. Who said I was trying to win? Veyron looked at the kunai in his hand. A small sealing formula appeared on it. Veyron's eyes widened. Naruto had secretly drawn the seal while throwing it. You removed my legacy seal. Quote, but you didn't remove what my father taught me. Flying Thunder God doesn't need destiny. It needs preparation. The seal activated. Naruto disappeared. For the first time, Veyron looked surprised. A golden flash appeared behind him. Naruto's fist struck his back. Veyron was thrown across the platform. Naruto landed. He smiled. Now it's my turn. But Veyron slowly stood. There wasn't a single scratch on him. He looked at Naruto with a serious expression. Interesting. Perhaps I made one mistake. Naruto raised his kunai. What mistake? Veyron smiled. I underestimated Minato Namikaze. Behind Veyron. A second portal opened, and from it stepped another figure. Naruto recognized him immediately. It was Minato. But this version of Minato wore black armor. His eyes were completely red. Veyron smiled. Let us see what happens when a father is forced to fight his son. The father from the dark timeline. The black-armored Minato stepped through the portal. Naruto's heart stopped. Dad. The alternate Minato didn't answer. His red eyes remained fixed on Naruto. Veyron stood behind him. This Minato comes from the timeline where Konoha was destroyed before Naruto was born. Naruto looked shocked. Then how is he alive? Quote. Veyron smiled. I brought him here. The alternate Minato raised a three-pronged kunai. Naruto immediately understood. This was not an illusion. This was a real Minato. A Minato who had lost everything before his son ever had the chance to know him. The alternate Minato disappeared. Naruto barely blocked the first attack. Boom. The impact sent Naruto flying. He landed on the edge of the floating platform. The alternate Minato appeared above him. Naruto rolled away just before another kunai struck the ground. Veyron watched silently. Fight. Naruto clenched his fists. I don't want to fight him. The alternate Minato attacked again. Naruto dodged. You don't understand. Naruto jumped backward. He's my father. The alternate Minato stopped for a moment. His red eyes flickered. Then he attacked again. Naruto realized something. He isn't completely under Veyron's control. Quote. The alternate Minato's movements were precise. But his attacks lacked emotion. Veyron was controlling him. Naruto looked toward Veyron. Let him go. Veyron shook his head. Why? Because you cannot accept that even your father can become your enemy. Quote. Naruto looked at the alternate Minato. No, my father taught me something else. The alternate Minato disappeared. Naruto closed his eyes. He listened. The sound of a kunai cutting through the air. The movement of wind. The tiny vibration of space. Naruto suddenly opened his eyes. He caught the kunai with his bare hand. The alternate Minato froze. Naruto stared into his red eyes. You don't have to fight me. Quote. The alternate Minato's hand began shaking. Veyron's expression changed. Attack him. The alternate Minato tried to move. He couldn't. Naruto stepped closer. You lost your village. You lost your future. Quote. You never got to know your son. The alternate Minato's eyes filled with tears. Naruto lowered his weapon. But you're still Minato Namikaze. The red glow in his eyes weakened. Veyron shouted. Do not listen to him. The alternate Minato suddenly turned around. His kunai flew toward Veyron. Veyron caught it. You failed. The alternate Minato smiled. No, I remembered. A golden light surrounded him. His black armor disappeared. For a moment, Naruto saw the Minato he knew. The alternate Minato looked at Naruto. You remind me of my son. Naruto smiled sadly. Because I am. The alternate Minato laughed. Then I'm glad. His body began turning into light. Before disappearing, he threw his flying thunder god kunai toward Naruto. Naruto caught it. The alternate Minato smiled. Take care of him. Naruto nodded. I will. The portal closed. Veyron stared at Naruto. You shouldn't have been able to break my control. Naruto looked at the kunai. My father always told me that the strongest seal isn't written on paper. Quote. It's written in the heart. Veyron's expression became cold. You are becoming troublesome. Naruto raised his kunai. Good. Veyron raised both hands. The stars around them began disappearing. Hundreds of portals opened. Each portal showed a different Naruto. One was a Hokage. One was a rogue ninja. One had become a member of the Akatsuki. One had mastered every forbidden technique. One had become a ruthless ruler. And one stood completely alone. Veyron pointed toward them. You want to defeat me? Then face every possible version of yourself. The portals opened simultaneously. Hundreds of Narutos stepped onto the battlefield. The real Naruto stared at them. For a moment, he felt fear. Then he smiled. Fine. He raised his kunai. I've spent my whole life proving that I'm not the person others expected me to become. So let's see which Naruto is the strongest. Quote. The alternate Narutos charged. Naruto rushed forward. The battle of every possible future had begun. The battle of every Naruto. Hundreds of Naruto Uzumakis rushed toward each other. The first Naruto attacked with Rasengan. Another answered with a giant Rasengan. A third used Sage Mode. A fourth surrounded himself with the chakra of Kurama. The battlefield became a storm of golden chakra, wind, fire, and lightning. The real Naruto jumped between the attacks. He wasn't trying to defeat everyone. He was studying them. Every Naruto had something different. Some had greater strength. Some had greater speed. Some had more experience. Some had darker abilities. But there was one thing they all shared. They were all fighting alone. Naruto noticed it immediately. That's it. He understood Veyron's plan. The strongest versions of Naruto had become isolated. They believed only they could save their worlds. They had stopped trusting others. Naruto smiled. That's why they lost. A rogue Naruto appeared behind him. You think you're better than us? Naruto turned. No, I think we're stronger together. The rogue Naruto laughed. That's weakness. He attacked. Naruto blocked his punch. Then another Naruto joined the attack. Then another. Soon, Naruto was surrounded. He was being attacked from every direction. He couldn't use Flying Thunder God because the battlefield was constantly changing. He couldn't rely on Kurama because Veyron had removed his legacy seal. So Naruto did something unexpected. He dropped his kunai. The surrounding Narutos stopped. Naruto raised both hands. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Hundreds of clones appeared. The alternate Narutos stared in confusion. One of them shouted, "Why would you create more targets?" Naruto smiled. Because I know what you're missing. The clones didn't attack. Instead, they began talking. One clone looked at the rogue Naruto. You lost everyone. Another looked at the lonely Naruto. You were afraid to trust people. Another looked at the dark Hokage. You became strong because you thought nobody else could protect your village. Quote, the alternate Narutos slowly lowered their weapons. Naruto continued. Every one of you chose power after losing someone. But I learned something different. I don't have to carry everything alone. Quote, the battlefield became quiet. One by one, the alternate Narutos disappeared. Not because Naruto defeated them. Because they finally accepted the truth. They had been fighting the wrong enemy. Soon, only one alternate Naruto remained. He wore a black cloak. His eyes were completely dark. Veyron looked toward him. You. The dark Naruto smiled. I know. He turned toward the real Naruto. I was the first Naruto who accepted Veyron's offer. Quote, Naruto looked at him. What did you gain? The dark Naruto answered. Everything. My village survived. My friends lived. My parents lived. I became Hokage. Naruto frowned. Then why are you here? Quote, the dark Naruto's smile disappeared. Because everyone was happy. But nobody was free. He looked toward Veyron. He controlled every decision. Every victory. Every relationship. I finally realized that a perfect life isn't worth living if someone else controls it. Quote, Naruto nodded. Then help me. The dark Naruto looked surprised. You trust me? Naruto smiled. You're still me. The dark Naruto laughed. I suppose I am. He turned toward Veyron. You've lost. Quote, Veyron's eyes glowed. No, I have not. The entire battlefield suddenly disappeared. Naruto found himself standing in complete darkness. No stars. No planets. No chakra. No sound. Veyron appeared in front of him. You defeated every possibility I gave you. Naruto looked around. Then what is this? Veyron answered. The place beyond possibility. This is where I created your world. Naruto stared at him. You mean the shinobi world? Veyron nodded. Every event was written here. He pointed toward thousands of glowing symbols. Your birth. Minato's survival. The Nine Tails attack. The wars. Quote, the friendships. Everything. Naruto walked toward the symbols. Then he noticed something strange. One symbol was completely blank. What is that? Veyron's expression changed. Don't touch it. Quote, Naruto smiled. So that's the one thing you didn't create. He reached toward the blank symbol. Veyron suddenly attacked. Naruto blocked. The impact sent shockwaves through the darkness. Veyron shouted. That possibility must never exist. Naruto clenched his fist. Then it must be important. He touched the blank symbol. The entire darkness shattered. A new light appeared. For the first time, Veyron looked terrified. What have you done? Naruto opened his eyes. I created a future you never planned. Behind him appeared Minato, Sasuke, Sakura, Kakashi, Ren, and thousands of allies from different timelines. Naruto smiled. That's what freedom looks like. The blank symbol exploded into light. And somewhere beyond Veyron's control, a completely new timeline was born. The unwritten future. The new timeline exploded into existence. For a moment, everything became white. Then Naruto opened his eyes. He was standing in a strange world. There was no village, no mountains, no oceans, no sky. Everything was completely empty. Minato appeared beside him. Sasuke, Sakura, Kakashi, Ren, and the others followed. Naruto looked around. Where are we? Veyron's voice echoed from every direction. Nowhere. This is the unwritten future. A world that has never been designed. Quote, Naruto looked at the empty space. Then we can create it ourselves. Veyron appeared in front of them. His armor was damaged for the first time. You don't understand what you've done. Naruto raised his kunai. Then explain. Veyron pointed toward the empty world. This place has no destiny. No predetermined events. No fixed future. Anything can happen. Naruto smiled. Sounds perfect. Veyron shook his head. No, it is dangerous. If people can choose anything, they can also choose destruction. Sasuke stepped forward. That's called freedom. Veyron stared at him. You would allow people to make mistakes. Quote, Sasuke answered. Yes, because mistakes belong to the person who makes them. Kakashi smiled. Looks like the Uchiha finally said something sensible. Sasuke glared at him. Kakashi. Naruto laughed. For the first time, Veyron looked confused. He had studied thousands of timelines. He had calculated billions of possibilities. But he couldn't understand laughter in a world that had no history. That was the one thing he couldn't predict. Suddenly, the empty world began changing. A green field appeared beneath Naruto's feet. Then mountains. Then rivers. Then trees. The others began imagining their own futures. Sakura created a hospital. Kakashi created an academy. Sasuke created a training ground. Minato created a village center. Ren created a small house overlooking a peaceful valley. Naruto looked at the growing world. This isn't just a new timeline. Quote, it's a choice. Veyron watched silently. Then he lowered his head. I spent millions of years trying to create the perfect future. Naruto walked toward him. And you forgot that the future belongs to the people living in it. Quote, Veyron looked at Naruto. Would you really trust them? Naruto nodded. Yes, even if they fail. Yes, even if they hurt each other. Naruto paused. Then we'll help them learn. Veyron closed his eyes. A small smile appeared on his face. Perhaps. Quote, I was wrong. The symbols covering his armor began disappearing. His power faded. He was no longer the architect of timelines. He was simply Veyron, a man who had spent eternity trying to control a future that never belonged to him. Suddenly, a loud voice echoed across the new world. Naruto. Naruto turned. Ren was standing beside a small house. He was crying. Naruto rushed toward him. What's wrong? Ren pointed toward the house. Inside stood a woman. She had long dark hair, lavender eyes, a gentle smile. Naruto immediately recognized her. Hinata. But this wasn't the Hinata from Naruto's original timeline. This was the future Hinata from Ren's world. Ren ran into her arms. Mom. Hinata hugged him tightly. Naruto stood outside the door, speechless. Hinata looked toward him. For a moment, neither spoke. Then she smiled. So you're the Naruto who saved us. Naruto scratched the back of his head. I guess so. Minato laughed from behind him. Looks like my son has finally met his future. Quote, Naruto turned bright red. Dad. Everyone laughed. Even Sasuke smiled. The darkness that had followed them for so long finally disappeared. But far above the new world, a single black symbol appeared. Naruto looked upward. His smile faded. What is that? Veyron stared at the symbol. His expression changed completely. I don't know. Naruto looked at him. You created the timelines. Veyron shook his head. Not this one. The black symbol slowly opened like an eye. A voice came from beyond the new universe. You finally created something I cannot control. Naruto stepped forward. Who are you? The voice laughed. I am the reason Veyron became the architect. Veyron's face turned pale. No. The voice continued. I have watched every timeline. I have watched every Naruto. And now, I want the one who was never written. Quote, the black eye opened completely. A massive shadow appeared behind it. Naruto tightened his grip on his kunai. Minato stood beside him. Sasuke activated his Rinnegan. Ren stepped forward. The new world trembled. Naruto smiled. Everyone, looks like our peaceful future will have to wait. Minato raised his flying thunder god kunai. Then let's protect it. The new enemy stepped through the black eye. And for the first time. Even Veyron was afraid. The one beyond destiny. The black eye opened completely. A massive figure stepped through the darkness. Unlike Veyron, he did not wear armor. He wore a simple black cloak that seemed to absorb the light around him. His face was hidden. Only two golden eyes were visible. Veyron immediately stepped backward. I thought you were gone. The stranger laughed. Nothing disappears. It only waits. Naruto raised his kunai. Who are you? The stranger looked directly at him. I am called the Observer. Naruto frowned. The Observer. I existed before Veyron created the first timeline. I watched every universe develop. Quote, I watched every hero rise. I watched every villain fall. But I could never enter the stories. The Observer pointed toward Naruto. Until you. Naruto looked confused. Why me? Because you created something that was never supposed to exist. Quote, the unwritten future. Veyron stepped forward. You cannot control this world. The Observer smiled. I don't need to. I only need to destroy it. The ground began cracking. Black energy spread across the new world. The trees disappeared. Mountains turned to dust. The rivers vanished. Ren shouted, he's destroying everything we created. Naruto rushed forward. Stop. He attacked the Observer with a Rasengan. The Observer caught it with one hand. Naruto's eyes widened. The Observer slowly crushed the Rasengan. Your power is impressive, but your strength still comes from a world that I understand. He pushed Naruto backward. Minato immediately appeared beside his son. Naruto. Naruto stood up. I'm fine. Sasuke opened a dimensional portal. I'll attack from another direction. He disappeared. A moment later, Sasuke appeared behind the Observer. Amaterasu. Black flames surrounded the Observer. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then the Observer simply walked through the flames. Sasuke's eyes widened. What? The Observer looked at him. You attack what exists. I exist outside your reality. Sasuke was thrown backward. Naruto caught him. Are you okay? Sasuke nodded. I've fought stronger enemies. Naruto smiled. Good. Then let's figure out how to beat this one. Quote, Minato suddenly noticed something. Naruto. What? Look at his shadow. Naruto stared. The Observer had no shadow. Everyone else had one. Even Veyron. But the Observer didn't. Minato realized the truth. He's not actually inside this world. He's projecting himself into it. Naruto's eyes widened. Then his real body is somewhere else. Veyron nodded. Exactly. Naruto looked at the Observer. Where is your real body? Quote, the Observer smiled. You cannot reach it. Naruto looked toward the black eye behind him. That's the doorway. The Observer's expression changed. Naruto smiled. We don't have to defeat you here. Quote, we just need to reach the other side. Minato understood immediately. Flying Thunder God. Naruto nodded. But we need a mark. Minato looked at the Observer. We can place one. Minato threw a Flying Thunder God kunai. The Observer caught it. He smiled. You think that will work? Minato smiled back. Not that one. Naruto suddenly appeared behind the Observer. He had another kunai in his hand. He placed it directly on the black cloak. The Observer's eyes widened. A golden symbol appeared. Impossible. Naruto grinned. You're inside our world now. The mark activated. Minato appeared beside Naruto. Together, father and son used Flying Thunder God. The world vanished. They were pulled through the black eye. They landed in a completely different place. There were no stars, no planets, no timelines, only endless darkness. At the center stood an enormous throne. And sitting on it was the true form of the Observer. Naruto stared in shock. The creature looked exactly like him. But older, much older. Its hair was white. Its eyes were golden. Its body was covered in countless glowing symbols. The Observer smiled. Welcome, Naruto whispered. You're another version of me. The Observer nodded. The first. Minato stepped forward. The first Naruto. The Observer looked at him. Not exactly. Quote, I existed before the name Naruto was ever created. I am the possibility from which every Naruto was born. Naruto clenched his fists. Then why are you destroying our future? The observer stood. Because you have created something I feared. Naruto stared at him. What? The observer pointed toward Naruto. Choice. He smiled. For the first time, I cannot predict what you will become. Quote. And that makes you more dangerous than any enemy. The darkness behind him began opening. Millions of golden eyes appeared. The observer raised his hand. Now, let us discover what an unpredictable Naruto can become. Quote. The final battle was about to begin. The first Naruto. The endless darkness shook as millions of golden eyes opened around Naruto and Minato. Naruto stared at the figure sitting on the throne. You said you're the first Naruto. Quote. The observer nodded. Before your timeline, before the celestial realm, before the guardians, there was only one possibility. Me. Minato tightened his grip on his kunai. Then why did you allow countless versions of Naruto to exist? Quote. The first Naruto smiled. Because I wanted to know which version would finally understand the truth. Naruto frowned. What truth? The first Naruto stood from his throne. Every Naruto believes he is fighting for peace. Quote. Every Naruto believes he is protecting someone. But eventually, every one of them reaches the same question. He walked toward Naruto. How much are you willing to sacrifice to create the perfect future? Quote. Naruto remained silent. The first Naruto raised his hand. The darkness transformed. Naruto saw thousands of possible futures. In one, Konoha was destroyed. In another, Minato died. In another, Sasuke became his enemy. In another, Naruto became Hokage but lost everyone he loved. Then he saw a different future. Naruto was standing alone on a throne. Every nation was united. Every war had ended. Everyone obeyed him. There was no crime, no hatred, no suffering. But Naruto was completely alone. The first Naruto pointed toward the vision. This is the future created by control. Everyone is safe. Everyone is happy. Quote. But no one is free. Naruto looked at the vision. I don't want that. The first Naruto smiled. I knew you would say that. He snapped his fingers. The vision changed. Naruto saw another future. Minato was alive. Kushina was alive. Sasuke was his closest friend. Jiraiya never died. Neji was alive. Everyone Naruto had ever lost was standing beside him. There was no war, no pain, no enemies. Naruto's heart began racing. The first Naruto spoke softly. This future can be yours. Naruto stared at Kushina. Mom. Minato looked at his son. Naruto, don't. The first Naruto smiled. Choose it. Quote. You can have everything you ever wanted. Naruto slowly stepped forward. His hand trembled. Minato grabbed his shoulder. Son. Naruto looked at him. Minato shook his head. Don't choose a world because it has no pain. Quote. Choose the world where you can make your own choices. Naruto closed his eyes. A tear rolled down his cheek. I know. He turned away from the illusion. I miss them. I'll always miss them. But I won't replace reality with a dream. The perfect world shattered. The first Naruto looked genuinely surprised. You rejected everything. Naruto nodded. Because even if I could bring everyone back. Quote. It wouldn't be them. It would only be copies of my memories. The first Naruto became silent. Minato smiled proudly. That's my son. The first Naruto lowered his head. For the first time, his expression showed sadness. You understand now. Naruto looked at him. Understand what? I wasn't trying to defeat you. I was trying to find someone who could defeat me. Naruto's eyes widened. The first Naruto raised his hands. Golden symbols appeared across the darkness. I have watched every version of myself become a prisoner of destiny. I became the observer because I believed someone had to control the future. But you proved me wrong. Quote. Naruto stepped forward, then stopped controlling it. The first Naruto smiled. I will. He removed the golden crown from his head. The crown transformed into millions of golden particles. They rushed toward Naruto. Minato shouted, Naruto. The particles entered Naruto's body. His chakra exploded. Golden light filled the entire realm. The first Naruto's body slowly disappeared. Take this. The power I collected from every possible Naruto. Quote. Naruto struggled to remain standing. What power? The first Naruto smiled. The power to create your own destiny. The entire realm shook. Every golden eye disappeared. The throne shattered. The darkness began collapsing. Minato grabbed Naruto. We have to leave. Naruto nodded. They rushed toward the portal. Just before they escaped, Naruto heard the first Naruto's final words. Remember this. Quote, "Destiny is not something you defeat. It is something you choose." Naruto and Minato jumped through the portal. The black eye closed behind them. The unwritten future became silent. Naruto landed beside Ren, Sasuke, Sakura, Kakashi, and Veyron. Ren immediately ran toward him. "Are you okay?" Naruto smiled. "I'm fine." Veyron stared at Naruto. The power of the first Naruto. Naruto looked at his hands. Golden symbols slowly disappeared from his skin. "What happens now?" Veyron looked toward the newly created world. "Now you decide." Naruto looked at Minato, then at his friends, then at Ren. He smiled. "Then let's build a future together. But far beyond the edge of the new universe." One golden eye opened. A familiar voice whispered, "Your choice has been recorded. Now the real story begins. The celestial war begins." The golden eye disappeared beyond the edge of the universe. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then the entire unwritten future shook. Naruto looked toward the sky. "What was that?" Veyron's face became serious. "I don't know." Minato immediately reached for his flying thunder god kunai. "Everyone stay alert." A deep vibration passed through the ground. Then another. The sky began turning crimson. Ren looked upward. "That's not normal." Veyron shook his head. "No, this is something much worse." Quote, "Suddenly, thousands of portals appeared across the sky. But these portals were not golden. They were completely black. From each portal emerged an army. Warriors wearing silver armor. Massive creatures with glowing eyes. Machines made from black crystal. And beings made entirely from shadow." Naruto stared at the endless army. "Who are they?" Veyron answered quietly. "The Celestial Empire." Sasuke looked at him. "I thought the Celestial Realm was peaceful." Quote, "It was. Until the first Naruto disappeared." Naruto frowned. "What does he have to do with them?" Veyron looked toward Naruto. "The Celestial Empire believed the first Naruto was the only being capable of controlling every timeline." Quote, "They wanted his power. Now that power has chosen you." Naruto clenched his fist. "So they're coming for me." Veyron nodded. "They will not stop until they have the power you received." A massive figure descended from the largest portal. He wore golden armor and carried a giant sword. Thousands of soldiers immediately knelt. The figure looked toward Naruto. "I am Emperor Solarius. The Celestial Empire demands the return of the first power." Quote, Naruto stepped forward. "No." Solarius raised an eyebrow. "You refuse an order from the ruler of 12,000 worlds." Naruto smiled. "I don't care how many worlds you rule. You don't get to decide my future." Quote, the Emperor's expression hardened. "Then your world will be destroyed." He raised his sword. The army behind him charged. Naruto immediately created hundreds of shadow clones. "Everyone, protect the city." Quote, Minato vanished in a golden flash. Sasuke opened multiple dimensional portals. Gaara raised enormous walls of sand. Kakashi activated his Sharingan. Ren stood beside Naruto. "Can I fight?" Naruto looked at him. "Stay close." Ren nodded. The first wave of enemies reached the city. Boom. The battlefield erupted. Minato moved through the enemy army like lightning. Every teleportation was followed by a precise strike. Sasuke trapped entire groups inside dimensional portals. Gaara's sand swept across the battlefield. Kakashi fought beside the younger shinobi. Naruto moved directly toward Emperor Solarius. Solarius swung his sword. Naruto blocked the blade with his kunai. The impact sent Naruto sliding backward. Solarius smiled. "You're powerful." Naruto looked at the sword. "And you're slow." He disappeared. Solarius turned. Naruto appeared behind him. Rasengan. The attack struck the Emperor's armor. Crack. A small fracture appeared. Solarius looked at the damaged armor in disbelief. "No one has ever broken that." Naruto smiled. "There's a first time for everything." Solarius removed his damaged armor. Golden energy exploded from his body. "Then let me show you why 12,000 worlds fear my name." The Emperor raised his sword. The entire battlefield went silent. A gigantic golden blade formed above the sky. It was large enough to cut through mountains. Minato looked toward Naruto. "Naruto." Naruto raised his hand. "I've got this." Quote, the golden symbols of the first Naruto appeared across his body. But this time, Naruto didn't release all of his power. He remembered the lesson he had learned. Power was not about controlling everything. It was about trusting others. Naruto looked toward his friends. Sasuke. Sasuke understood immediately. A portal opened beneath Solarius. Now, Gaara's sand grabbed the Emperor's legs. Kakashi attacked from the side. Minato marked the Emperor's sword. Naruto smiled. Together, the four attacks struck simultaneously. Solarius was thrown into the sky. Naruto appeared above him. Rasengan. The attack exploded. The Emperor crashed into the ground. Silence followed. Then Solarius slowly stood. His armor was broken. Blood ran down his face. But instead of anger, he smiled. Excellent. Naruto frowned. What? Solarius looked toward the sky. You think I came here to defeat you? He pointed toward the largest black portal. I came here to keep you alive. Naruto's expression changed. What are you talking about? Quote, the Emperor looked terrified for the first time. The Celestial Empire isn't the real enemy. Behind the black portal, something enormous moved. Every soldier stopped fighting. Even Veyron stepped backward. Solarius whispered, they're here. Naruto looked toward the darkness. Who? The portal began cracking. A voice echoed from beyond it. Naruto Uzumaki, your journey has finally reached us. The black portal shattered. Behind it stood an army so vast that it covered the entire horizon. At the front was a familiar figure. The first Naruto. But this time, he was wearing black armor. His golden eyes were glowing. Naruto stared at him in disbelief. You were supposed to be gone. The first Naruto smiled. I was. This is not the first Naruto you knew. The figure raised his hand. I am the Naruto who existed before the first universe. Quote, the Naruto who never chose hope. The battlefield became silent. He looked directly at Naruto. And I have come to take back my power. The Naruto before the universe. The entire battlefield became silent. Naruto stared at the black armored figure standing beyond the shattered portal. He looked exactly like the first Naruto. But his presence was completely different. The golden eyes were cold. The chakra around him was darker than the void itself. Veyron stepped backward. This is impossible. The black-armored Naruto laughed. You thought the first Naruto was the beginning. You were wrong. He pointed toward Naruto. I existed before him. Quote, Naruto tightened his grip on his kunai. Then who are you? The figure slowly removed his black helmet. My name is Origin. I am the Naruto who existed before time. Naruto frowned. Before time. Quote, Origin nodded. Before the first universe was created, there was a single consciousness. That consciousness became me. I created the first timeline. I created the first Naruto. I created the first shadow. Quote, I created the first guardians. And when the universe became too complicated, I disappeared. Veyron stared at him. Then why return now? Origin looked toward Naruto. Because you have something that belongs to me. Quote, the golden symbols on Naruto's body began glowing. Origin raised his hand. The symbols started moving toward him. Naruto immediately resisted. No, Origin smiled. You cannot stop the source of your own power. Quote, Naruto felt his body becoming weaker. His knees almost touched the ground. Minato rushed toward him. Naruto. Origin flicked his hand. A wave of energy threw Minato backward. Stay out of this. Quote, Naruto saw his father fall. Something inside him snapped. He stood again. You don't get to touch my father. Origin stared at him. Interesting. The power is responding to your emotions. Naruto's golden chakra exploded. The symbols stopped moving. Origin's expression changed. You were resisting me. Naruto looked at him. I don't care where this power came from. I don't care if you created it. It belongs to me now. Quote, Origin smiled. Then prove it. He raised his hand. The entire army behind him charged. Thousands of warriors rushed toward the battlefield. The Celestial Empire soldiers hesitated. Emperor Solarius looked at Naruto. Do you still think we're your enemy? Naruto shook his head. No. Then fight with us. Solarius raised his sword. Celestial Empire. Thousands of soldiers turned toward Origin's army. Advance. Quote, the battlefield exploded. Naruto and Origin faced each other. Origin disappeared. Naruto barely blocked his punch. The impact shattered the ground beneath them. Naruto countered with a Rasengan. Origin caught it. He crushed it with one hand. Naruto jumped backward. Origin smiled. You are strong, but you still depend on techniques. Naruto looked at him. Maybe. He threw 3 kunai. Origin dodged. Naruto vanished. Flying Thunder God. He appeared behind Origin. Rasengan. Origin blocked it. Naruto disappeared again. Another attack. Then another. Origin couldn't predict his movement. For the first time, Naruto had the advantage. Origin's expression became serious. You learned the technique from Minato. Naruto smiled. My father taught me. Then I will remove it. Origin snapped his fingers. Every flying thunder god mark on the battlefield disappeared. Naruto froze. Origin attacked. Naruto was thrown across the battlefield. He crashed into a mountain. Minato rushed toward him. Naruto slowly stood. Don't. Minato stopped. Naruto wiped the blood from his mouth. I can still fight. Minato looked at his son. Then don't fight like a shinobi. Naruto looked confused. Minato smiled. Fight like Naruto. Quote. Naruto understood. He closed his eyes. He stopped thinking about techniques. He stopped thinking about chakra. He stopped thinking about destiny. He simply remembered who he was. A boy who wanted acknowledgement. A student who refused to give up. A friend who never abandoned Sasuke. A son who wanted his father's love. A shinobi who believed people could change. The golden power around Naruto changed. It no longer looked like chakra. It looked like pure light. Origin stared at him. What are you doing? Naruto opened his eyes. I'm not using your power anymore. I'm using my own. The golden light exploded across the battlefield. Every person fighting stopped for a moment. The light reached Minato, Sasuke, Sakura, Kakashi, Ren, Solarius, even Veyron. Their own chakra began glowing. Naruto had connected them without taking their power. He had simply reminded them of their own strength. Origin's eyes widened. This cannot happen. Naruto stepped forward. You created power, but you never understood people. Origin looked toward the thousands of warriors. Then toward Naruto. For the first time, fear appeared in his eyes. Naruto raised his fist. This is our future, not yours. He rushed forward. Origin prepared to strike. The two fists collided. A shockwave spread across the universe. And for the first time since the beginning of existence, the creator of destiny was pushed backward. The creator falls. The collision between Naruto and Origin sent a shockwave across the battlefield. Entire clouds of darkness disappeared. The black portals began collapsing. Origin was pushed backward for the first time. He looked at Naruto with disbelief. You cannot be stronger than me. Naruto stood with blood on his face. I'm not. Origin frowned. Then why am I losing? Naruto smiled. Because I'm not fighting you alone. Behind Naruto stood Minato, Sasuke, Sakura, Kakashi, Ren, Solarius, and thousands of warriors from different worlds. Everyone had their own reason to fight. Everyone had chosen to stand together. Origin looked around. You are all choosing uncertainty. Sasuke stepped forward. Yes, and that's what makes us free. Quote, Origin raised both hands. The sky turned black. Millions of golden symbols appeared across space. Every symbol represented a timeline. Origin began deleting them, one after another. Entire universes disappeared. Naruto shouted, Stop. Origin continued. If I cannot control the future, I will erase it. A universe disappeared. Then another. Ren cried out. People are dying. Naruto clenched his fists. He looked at Minato. Dad, can we stop this? Minato shook his head. Not by attacking him. Naruto looked confused. Then how? Minato pointed toward the countless symbols. Those timelines are connected to their people. Quote, if we protect the people, the timelines will survive. Naruto understood. He turned toward everyone. Don't attack Origin. Protect the worlds. The Shinobi Alliance moved instantly. Sasuke opened thousands of portals. Gaara created enormous shields. Kakashi and Sakura led the medical teams. Solarius ordered the Celestial Army to protect the distant universes. Ren stood beside Naruto. What will you do? Naruto looked toward Origin. I'll keep him busy. Naruto rushed forward. Origin attacked with a massive blade of darkness. Naruto dodged. Another blade appeared. Naruto blocked it. Origin moved faster. Naruto was struck and thrown across the battlefield. He recovered in midair. Origin appeared directly in front of him. You cannot defeat me. Naruto smiled. Maybe not, but I don't need to. Quote, Origin stopped. What? Naruto pointed toward the sky. Every timeline that had been disappearing had begun glowing again. The people inside those worlds were fighting back. Their memories, their choices, their hopes, all of them were creating new possibilities. The symbols Origin had created were changing. They were no longer under his control. Origin's power began collapsing. No, Naruto stepped forward. You spent eternity trying to control every future. But you forgot one thing. Origin looked at him. What? Naruto smiled. The future changes every time someone makes a choice. Dash dash dash. Origin's body began cracking. Golden light appeared through the cracks. He fell to one knee. For the first time, he looked tired. I don't understand. Naruto approached him. You don't have to. Origin looked up. After everything I've done. ... Why don't you hate me? Naruto was silent for a moment. Because if I hate you, then I'm letting you decide who I become. Origin stared at him. A tear appeared in his golden eye. I wanted someone to prove me wrong. Naruto extended his hand. You could have just asked. Origin laughed quietly. Maybe. He took Naruto's hand. The darkness disappeared from his body. The creator of destiny finally surrendered his power. Every timeline stopped collapsing. The black portals vanished. The celestial realm became peaceful again. Dash dash dash. Months later, the unwritten future had become a real world. It had forests, cities, villages. People from different timelines began living there together. The Celestial Empire stopped its invasion. Veyron became one of the guardians. Solarius became an ally of the shinobi world. Ren returned to his future with his mother. Before leaving, he hugged Naruto. I'll remember you. Naruto smiled. And I'll remember you. Minato watched them proudly. You've changed a lot of worlds, Naruto. Naruto looked at the new horizon. We changed them together. Dash dash dash. That evening, Naruto stood on a mountain with Minato. The stars were shining peacefully. Minato looked at his son. So, Hokage. Naruto smiled. Maybe someday. Minato laughed. Someday. Naruto nodded. I have a lot more worlds to explore first. Suddenly, the black crystal in Naruto's hand began glowing again. A small message appeared. Guardian mission. Active. Naruto stared at it. Minato sighed. I knew peace wouldn't last. Naruto laughed. Then let's see what the universe has planned next. Far beyond the stars, a new portal opened. Something unknown was waiting on the other side. And this time, Naruto would not face it as the son of the fourth Hokage. He would face it as the guardian of worlds. The world beyond the portal. The portal above the mountain continued glowing. Naruto looked at it carefully. The energy coming from it was unlike anything he had ever felt. Minato stood beside him. That chakra doesn't belong to any world I know. Naruto nodded. Neither do I. Minato smiled. Then let's find out. Naruto activated the guardian power within him. A golden path appeared inside the portal. Before they could step through, Sasuke appeared behind them. You weren't planning to go without me, were you? Naruto laughed. I knew you'd come. Sakura arrived a moment later. And you two weren't planning to leave without me either. Kakashi walked toward them. I suppose someone has to keep you out of trouble. Naruto looked at everyone. Then let's go. The group entered the portal. For several seconds, there was complete darkness. Then they emerged. Everyone stopped. A massive world stretched before them. There were no villages, no roads, no oceans. Instead, enormous floating islands covered the sky. Each island had a different environment. One was covered in snow. Another was surrounded by fire. Another was filled with forests. Another was completely underwater. At the center of them all stood a gigantic tower. Naruto stared at it. What is that? A voice answered from behind them. The Tower of First Creation. Everyone turned. A young woman stood there wearing silver armor. She had long white hair and glowing blue eyes. Sasuke immediately reached for his sword. Who are you? She raised both hands. I'm not your enemy. Naruto looked at her. Then tell us where we are. The woman looked toward the tower. You are standing outside reality. Naruto frowned. Outside reality? She nodded. This place is called the boundary. It exists between all universes. Nothing here belongs to any timeline. Minato looked around. Then why did you bring us here? The woman shook her head. I didn't. You were summoned. Naruto looked surprised. By whom? The woman pointed toward the tower. By the person who created the guardian system. Naruto's expression changed. The first shadow. The woman shook her head. Someone older. A deep sound suddenly echoed from the tower. The ground began shaking. The woman looked frightened. He's awake. Naruto prepared himself. Who? She whispered. The first human. Everyone became silent. Naruto stared at the tower. First human. Quote. She nodded. Before the first shinobi. Before chakra. Before the tailed beasts. There was one human. He was given the ability to shape reality. But he disappeared after creating the first universe. Quote. Naruto looked toward the tower. Why would he summon me? The woman answered. Because he knows something about your future. Naruto's expression became serious. What? She looked directly into his eyes. He knows how you will die. The atmosphere became completely silent. Minato stepped forward. What did you say? The woman looked toward him. The Guardian of Worlds has a predetermined ending. Naruto clenched his fist. I don't believe in predetermined endings. The woman smiled sadly. Neither did the first human. Suddenly, the gigantic tower opened. A golden light poured into the sky. A voice echoed across the boundary. Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto looked upward. The voice continued. You defeated destiny. You rejected a perfect future. You created an unwritten world. But now you must face the one thing even freedom cannot change. Quote. Naruto raised his head. What is that? The voice answered. Your final choice. The tower doors opened completely. Inside stood a single throne. And sitting on it was a man who looked exactly like Naruto. But unlike every version Naruto had seen before, this Naruto was old. His hair was completely white. His eyes were closed. And his body was covered with ancient golden seals. The old man slowly opened his eyes. He looked directly at Naruto. I have been waiting for you. Naruto stepped forward. Who are you? The old man smiled. I am you. The Naruto who survived everything. The Naruto who reached the end of time. Quote. Naruto stared at him. The old Naruto continued. And I came here to warn you. Do not become me. The warning from the future. Naruto stared at the old man sitting on the throne. The resemblance was impossible to ignore. The same blue eyes. The same whisker marks. The same stubborn expression. But the old Naruto carried a sadness that the younger Naruto had never seen before. Minato stepped forward. How far in the future are you from? Quote. The old Naruto looked at him. Far enough that your name has become a legend. Minato's expression changed. What happened to our world? The old Naruto lowered his head. Everything you wanted happened. Quote. Konoha became stronger. The nations remained united. Naruto became Hokage. Peace lasted for generations. Minato smiled slightly. Then why do you look like that? The old Naruto looked toward his younger self. Because peace had a price. Naruto frowned. What price? The old Naruto stood. Me. The golden seals covering his body began glowing. I became the guardian of worlds. I protected every universe. Quote. I stopped every war. I defeated every enemy. But eventually, everyone I loved disappeared. Naruto became silent. Everyone. The old Naruto nodded. Your father. Your mother. Sasuke. Quote. Sakura. Kakashi. Everyone. Minato looked at his son. Naruto clenched his fists. What about my future children? The old Naruto smiled sadly. They lived. But they grew old. And I couldn't stop time. Quote. Naruto looked down. The old Naruto continued. I became obsessed with protecting everyone. I started using the power of the Guardian to prevent death. I stopped allowing natural events to happen. Quote. I changed timelines whenever someone was about to die. Eventually, I became exactly what Veyron once was. Naruto looked at him. You controlled people's futures. Yes. Why? Because I couldn't accept losing anyone else. Quote. Naruto remembered the perfect future that the first Naruto had shown him. You were afraid. The old Naruto nodded. Very afraid. Minato stepped forward. Then why warn Naruto? The old Naruto looked directly at him. Because I discovered something. What? Every time I changed the future, another timeline was created. Every time I saved someone, another world suffered. I spent centuries trying to create one perfect reality. Quote. And instead, I created an endless war between timelines. Naruto stared at him. Then how do I avoid becoming you? The old Naruto walked toward him. You must learn to let go. Naruto frowned. Let go of what? Everything. Your fear. Your need to protect everyone. Your desire to control the future. And most importantly, your fear of losing the people you love. Naruto shook his head. I can't promise that. The old Naruto smiled. I know. That's why you have to learn it yourself. Suddenly, the tower began shaking. The old Naruto looked toward the ceiling. They found us. Minato reached for his kunai. Who? The old Naruto's expression became serious. The people who killed me. Naruto's eyes widened. You said you survived everything. The old Naruto shook his head. I survived every battle, but I did not survive the final one. A massive crack appeared across the sky. Black energy began pouring through it. Sasuke activated his Rinnegan. There are thousands of chakra signatures. Quote, the old Naruto nodded. They are the Null Army. Naruto looked confused. What are they? Beings created from erased timelines. They remember everything that was deleted. And they hate the people responsible. Quote, Naruto looked toward the old Naruto. That means they hate you. The old Naruto smiled. They hate every version of me. The tower doors suddenly exploded. Thousands of black armored warriors entered. Their bodies were covered with broken symbols. At the front stood a tall woman with silver hair and crimson eyes. She looked toward Naruto, the young guardian. Then she looked at the old Naruto. The old guardian. She raised her sword. Today, both of you die. Naruto stepped forward. Minato stood beside him. Sasuke and Sakura prepared their weapons. Kakashi activated his Sharingan. The old Naruto looked at them. For the first time in centuries, I won't fight alone. Naruto smiled. Then welcome back. The old Naruto raised his hand. Golden chakra surrounded his body. The doors of the Tower of First Creation opened completely. The final battle of 2 generations of Naruto had begun. The Null Army. The Null Army flooded into the Tower of First Creation. Thousands of warriors moved through the halls. Their armor was made from fragments of erased timelines. Some carried swords. Others used strange chakra techniques that Naruto had never seen. At the front stood the silver-haired woman. She pointed her sword toward the old Naruto. You erased our worlds. Quote, the old Naruto lowered his head. I know. You erased our families. I know. You decided that our lives were unnecessary. The old Naruto looked at her. I was wrong. The woman froze. She had expected him to defend himself. Instead, he accepted the blame. Naruto stepped forward. Who are you? The woman looked at him. My name is Arya. I was the guardian of a world you erased. Naruto looked at the old Naruto. You erased her world. Quote, the old Naruto nodded. I believed removing that timeline would prevent a greater disaster. Arya's eyes filled with anger. You destroyed millions of lives. Naruto looked at her. Then don't fight for revenge. Quote, Arya tightened her grip. What else do I fight for? Naruto answered. For the future. Arya stared at him. You sound like him. Naruto smiled. I'm not him. I'm still learning. Arya suddenly attacked. Naruto blocked her sword with a kunai. The impact sent him backward. She moved incredibly fast. Naruto created shadow clones. Arya destroyed them one after another. Sasuke appeared beside Naruto. She's using a technique that removes chakra from anything she touches. Naruto nodded. Then I won't let her touch me. He disappeared. Flying Thunder God. But the old Naruto suddenly shouted. Naruto, wait. Quote, Naruto stopped. Arya had placed a mark on the floor. The entire area turned black. Naruto was trapped. The old Naruto appeared beside him. She doesn't need to touch you. She can erase the space around you. Quote, Naruto looked at the black field. Then how do we escape? The old Naruto smiled. Don't escape. Change the rules. Naruto understood. He closed his eyes. The golden power of the first Naruto appeared. Instead of attacking the field, Naruto connected his chakra to it. The black energy began turning golden. Arya's eyes widened. What are you doing? Naruto answered. I'm giving your technique another purpose. Quote, the black field transformed into a barrier. It stopped the Null Army from entering the room. Arya stared at Naruto. You could have destroyed my technique. Naruto shook his head. I don't want to destroy everything I don't understand. Quote, the old Naruto smiled. That's the difference between us. Suddenly, a massive explosion shook the tower. The ceiling collapsed. A gigantic creature entered the chamber. It had no face. Only a glowing red symbol covered its head. The old Naruto immediately became serious. That's the Null King. Arya stepped backward. I thought he was dead. The Null King looked toward the old Naruto. You cannot escape your creation. Naruto stared at the creature. You created him. The old Naruto nodded. When I erased timelines, their hatred gathered. Eventually, that hatred became a living being. The Null King raised his hand. Every Null soldier stopped fighting. They all turned toward Naruto. The creature spoke. We do not want your death. Naruto frowned. Then what do you want? We want your memories. Naruto's expression changed. Why? Because you are the first Naruto who created a future without being controlled by destiny. Quote, the Null King pointed toward Naruto. Your memories contain the path to freedom. Sasuke stepped forward. You're not taking anything from him. The Null King laughed. You cannot stop us. Hundreds of Null soldiers attacked. Sasuke activated his Susanoo. Sakura smashed the ground. Kakashi used Kamui. Minato began teleporting between the soldiers. Naruto moved toward the Null King. The old Naruto stopped him. Don't. Naruto looked back. Why? Because I know that creature. It doesn't fight with strength. It fights with memories. Naruto frowned. What does that mean? The old Naruto looked into his eyes. It will show you everything you fear. The Null King raised both hands. The world around Naruto disappeared. Suddenly, Naruto was standing alone in Konoha. The village was peaceful. People were laughing. Minato and Kushina were walking toward him. Sasuke was beside him. Sakura was smiling. Jiraiya was alive. Everything was perfect. Then Naruto noticed something. Nobody was speaking. Everyone was staring at him. Minato slowly raised his hand. Naruto. Naruto smiled. Dad. Minato's eyes turned black. You failed us. The village disappeared. Naruto was suddenly standing in darkness. Thousands of voices surrounded him. You couldn't save us. You couldn't protect us. You were never enough. Naruto covered his ears. Stop. The voices became louder. Then a final voice whispered. Give us your memories. Naruto opened his eyes. His fear disappeared. No. The Null King appeared in front of him. Why? Naruto smiled. Because my memories aren't only pain. He remembered his father's smile. His mother's warmth. Sasuke's friendship. Jiraiya's lessons. Kakashi's guidance. His first victory. His first promise. His first dream of becoming Hokage. Naruto's chakra exploded. My memories made me who I am. I won't give them away. Quote, the illusion shattered. Naruto returned to the tower. The Null King stepped backward. For the first time, it looked afraid. The old Naruto stared at his younger self. You just did what I could never do. Quote, Naruto looked at him. What? You accepted your pain without letting it control you. The Null King roared. The entire tower began collapsing. Arya looked toward the ceiling. We have seconds. Quote, Naruto raised his kunai. Then let's finish this. The Null King's last stand. The tower of first creation continued collapsing. Massive pieces of ancient stone fell from the ceiling. Golden energy raced through the walls. The Null King stood in the center of the destruction. His body had grown larger. Black energy covered his entire form. Arya looked at Naruto. He's absorbing the tower. Naruto looked toward the old Naruto. Can we stop him? The old Naruto nodded. But there is a problem. What? The Null King isn't a normal enemy. He is made from every erased timeline. If we destroy him with force, all that energy will be released. Quote, Sasuke understood. Then the explosion could destroy every universe connected to this place. The old Naruto nodded. Naruto looked at the Null King. Then we won't destroy him. Everyone looked at Naruto. We'll give him somewhere else to exist. Arya frowned. Where? Naruto pointed toward the center of the tower. The unwritten future. The old Naruto's eyes widened. That world has no predetermined destiny. Quote, exactly. Naruto continued. All the erased timelines can exist there without destroying anything. The old Naruto smiled. That's something I never thought of. Naruto looked at him. That's why I'm still learning. Quote, the old Naruto nodded. Then let's do it. Minato stepped forward. What do you need? Naruto looked at everyone. I need all of you. Minato smiled. Then you have us. Sasuke activated his Rinnegan. I'll open the dimensional path. Sakura raised her fists. I'll keep the structure stable. Kakashi activated his Sharingan. I'll protect the transfer. Arya lifted her sword. I'll stop the Null Army. Quote, the old Naruto raised his hand. And I'll contain the Null King. Naruto smiled. Then let's save these worlds. The entire group moved at once. Sasuke opened a massive portal. A golden path appeared inside it. Sakura slammed her hands against the ground. Medical chakra spread through the tower, preventing the structure from collapsing too quickly. Kakashi created multiple Kamui barriers around the group. Arya charged toward the Null Army. Her sword moved like lightning. Minato teleported from one enemy to another. Every attack was precise. The old Naruto appeared directly in front of the Null King. The creature roared, "You cannot erase me." Quote, the old Naruto shook his head. "I'm not going to erase you." He placed both hands against the creature's chest. "I'm going to give you a home." The Null King resisted. "Why? After everything I did?" The old Naruto looked at it. "Because I finally understand. Nobody should be punished forever for being created from someone else's mistakes." The Null King's body stopped resisting. Its black energy slowly became golden. Naruto stood beside the portal. Now, the old Naruto pushed the Null King toward the portal. Thousands of broken memories rushed through the tower. Naruto saw entire civilizations, children, parents, warriors, villages, people who had existed for only a few moments before their worlds were erased. Naruto closed his eyes. "We remember you." The golden energy spread across the portal. One by one, the erased worlds appeared inside the unwritten future. The Null Army stopped fighting. Their bodies turned into light. Arya looked at the new world forming beyond the portal. Tears filled her eyes. "My world." Naruto smiled. "It's alive again." Arya looked toward the old Naruto. "You gave it back." The old Naruto shook his head. "No." Naruto did. Arya looked toward the younger Naruto. "Thank you." Naruto smiled. "You don't have to thank me. Just build something better." The tower suddenly began collapsing completely. Minato shouted, "Everyone out." Sasuke opened the final portal. Everyone jumped through. Naruto stayed behind. Minato turned. "Naruto." Naruto looked toward the tower. The old Naruto is still inside. Naruto rushed back. "What are you doing?" The old Naruto smiled. "Someone has to close the tower." Naruto shook his head. "No, you've already sacrificed enough." The old Naruto looked at him. "If I leave, the tower will collapse into the unwritten future." Quote, Naruto stepped forward. "Then we'll close it together." The old Naruto smiled. "You really are stubborn." Naruto laughed. "That's what Dad says." Minato appeared beside them. "He's right." The three of them stood together. Father, Son, and the future version of the sun. They placed their hands against the central seal. Golden chakra filled the tower. The ancient structure began disappearing. The old Naruto looked toward his younger self. "Don't become me." Naruto nodded. "I won't." "Good." The old Naruto smiled. "For the first time, I believe the future will be better." His body began turning into light. Naruto reached toward him. "Wait." Quote, the old Naruto smiled. "I'll always be part of you." Then he disappeared. The tower vanished. The boundary became peaceful. Naruto stood beside his father. Minato placed a hand on his shoulder. "You saved another world." Quote, Naruto looked toward the endless stars. "No, we saved it together." But far away in the unwritten future, a small child opened his eyes. He looked at the stars and whispered, "Naruto." A golden symbol appeared on his forehead. The guardian story was not over. The child of the unwritten future. The small child stood alone beneath the stars. The golden symbol on his forehead continued glowing. He looked toward the sky. "Naruto." A soft golden light appeared in front of him. The child reached toward it. A voice came from inside the light. "Do not be afraid." The child looked around. "Who are you?" The voice answered, "Someone who has been waiting for you." Quote, the golden light disappeared. The child looked toward the distant mountains. A figure was standing there. It was Naruto. But Naruto had never been there before. The child ran toward him. "Are you the guardian?" Quote, Naruto smiled. "Yes." The child looked excited. "My name is Kai." Naruto knelt beside him. "Kai, why does your forehead have that symbol?" Kai touched it. "I don't know. It appeared when the tower disappeared." Quote, Naruto looked at the symbol carefully. It was different from every guardian seal he had seen. It had 3 circles connected by a single line. Minato appeared beside Naruto. The moment Kai saw him, he stepped backward. "Who is he?" Naruto smiled. "My father." Minato waved. "Hello." Kai stared at Minato. "You look familiar." Minato looked surprised. "Have we met?" Kai shook his head. "No, but I saw you in my dreams." Naruto and Minato exchanged a serious look. "What did you see?" Kai pointed toward the sky. "A war. Millions of stars were falling. Your father was fighting. Your friends were fighting. And you were standing alone." Quote, Naruto's expression became serious. What happened next? Kai looked frightened. You died. Minato immediately looked at Naruto. Naruto remained silent. The old Naruto's warning suddenly came back to him. Do not become me. Naruto looked at Kai. When did you see this? Kai answered, before I was born. Naruto frowned. That doesn't make sense. Kai looked at him. Nothing in this world makes sense. That's why it exists. Quote, Naruto stood. The golden symbol on Kai's forehead suddenly became brighter. A massive shockwave spread across the unwritten future. Far away, the sky cracked. Sasuke appeared through a portal. Naruto. Quote, Naruto turned. Sasuke looked toward Kai. Who is that? Naruto answered. We don't know. Sakura and Kakashi arrived behind him. Kakashi studied the child carefully. That seal. What about it? I've seen something similar. Quote, Naruto looked at him. Where? Kakashi pointed toward the sky. In the oldest records of the celestial realm. He paused. It was called the origin seal. Naruto's expression changed. What does it do? Quote, Kakashi shook his head. No one knows. Suddenly, the golden symbol on Kai's forehead released a beam of light. The beam traveled into space. Every guardian across the universe felt it. The celestial realm began ringing with alarms. Veyron appeared through a portal. His face was pale. The origin seal has awakened. Naruto looked at him. What does that mean? Veyron stared at Kai. It means the first creation has chosen a successor. Quote, Naruto stepped forward. Successor to what? Veyron looked toward the stars. The Guardian of Worlds was never meant to last forever. The first Naruto knew this. The old Naruto knew this. And now you are beginning to understand. Quote, Naruto looked at Kai. What are you saying? Veyron answered. Kai is not an ordinary child. He is the next guardian. Naruto was shocked. But he's just a kid. Veyron nodded. Exactly. That is why they will come for him. Quote, suddenly, the sky turned completely black. A massive portal opened above the unwritten future. Thousands of creatures emerged. But these were not the Null Army. They were wearing white armor. Their leader descended slowly. Veyron recognized him immediately. The Celestial Hunters. The leader looked toward Kai. We have found the successor. Naruto stepped in front of Kai. You aren't taking him. The hunter commander smiled. We don't need to take him. We only need to make sure he never becomes the next guardian. Naruto raised his kunai. Then you'll have to get through me. The commander raised his sword. Gladly. The sky filled with lightning. Naruto looked at Minato. Minato smiled. Ready. Naruto nodded. Always. The next battle was about to decide the future of the entire Guardian system, the Celestial Hunters. The sky above the unwritten future was covered with white-armored warriors. Thousands of Celestial Hunters descended from the massive portal. Their weapons were glowing with strange energy. Kai stood behind Naruto. He was frightened. Naruto looked back at him. Don't worry. Quote, I won't let them hurt you. Kai nodded. The hunter commander raised his sword. Naruto Uzumaki. You defeated the first Naruto. You defeated Origin. You even changed the fate of erased worlds. Quote, but this time, you cannot win. Naruto smiled. People keep telling me that. Minato appeared beside him. And they're usually wrong. The commander looked at Minato. The fourth Hokage. I have studied your history. Quote, Minato smiled. Then you should know that studying me isn't the same as defeating me. Minato disappeared. A flash of golden light crossed the battlefield. The commander blocked a flying thunder god attack. Naruto appeared from another direction. Rasengan. The commander blocked the attack with his sword. The explosion pushed him backward. Sasuke appeared above him. Amaterasu. Black flames covered the commander's armor. He screamed and released a burst of white chakra. The flames disappeared. Sasuke narrowed his eyes. Interesting. The commander looked toward him. You possess the Rinnegan. Sasuke raised his sword. And you talk too much. Sasuke attacked. The commander blocked every strike. Meanwhile, Sakura and Kakashi protected Kai. Several hunters tried to reach the child. Kakashi stepped in front of them. You'll have to get through me first. One hunter attacked. Kakashi used Kamui. The enemy disappeared. Another attacked from behind. Sakura smashed the ground. The shockwave sent the hunter flying. Kai watched them fighting. His golden seal began glowing again. Naruto noticed. Kai looked at him. I don't know what's happening. Don't fight it. Just breathe. Kai closed his eyes. The golden light around him became calmer. But suddenly, a voice whispered inside Kai's mind. Wake up. Kai opened his eyes. Everything around him disappeared. He was standing in a completely white world. A figure stood in front of him. Kai stared. Who are you? The figure turned around. It was the old Naruto. But this time, he looked much younger. Kai recognized him immediately. You are Naruto. Quote. The figure smiled. One version of him. Kai looked around. Where am I? Inside your seal. Why? Because the power inside you is awakening. Kai became nervous. I don't want this power. Quote. The old Naruto nodded. I know. That's why it chose you. Kai didn't understand. Why would power choose someone who doesn't want it? The old Naruto smiled. Because the most dangerous guardian is someone who wants power. Quote. And the safest guardian is someone who understands its cost. Kai looked down. What is the cost? The old Naruto became silent. Everything. Kai's eyes widened. Everything. Being a guardian means protecting worlds you may never see. Quote. Saving people who may never know your name. And sometimes, you will have to make choices that break your heart. Kai shook his head. I don't want to do that. The old Naruto placed a hand on his shoulder. Neither did I. Neither did Naruto. Neither did any of us. Kai looked at him. Then why did? The old Naruto smiled. Because someone has to choose. The white world began shaking. The old Naruto looked toward the darkness. They're trying to break the seal. Kai became frightened. Can we stop them? The old Naruto nodded. You can. How? Choose. Kai closed his eyes. He remembered Naruto protecting him. Minato smiling. Sasuke fighting beside them. Sakura and Kakashi defending him. He remembered the people of the unwritten future. He remembered that nobody had asked him to become a guardian. They had simply protected him because they believed he deserved a choice. Kai opened his eyes. I choose to protect them. The origin seal exploded with golden light. Back on the battlefield, everyone stopped. A massive golden wave spread across the sky. Every celestial hunter was pushed backward. The hunter commander looked toward Kai in disbelief. The seal has accepted him. Naruto looked at Kai. His eyes were glowing gold. But he was still himself. Naruto smiled. Good. The commander raised his sword. Then the successor must be eliminated immediately. Naruto stepped forward. No. The commander attacked. Naruto blocked the sword. The impact shook the entire battlefield. Naruto looked directly into the commander's eyes. You wanted to know why I keep winning. The commander pushed harder. Tell me. Naruto smiled. Because I never fight alone. Behind him, Minato, Sasuke, Sakura, Kakashi, Veyron, and Kai stood together. Naruto raised his kunai. And now, neither will he. Kai raised his hand. The origin seal released its first true power. The entire sky turned gold. The celestial hunters looked upward in fear. Veyron whispered, the new guardian has awakened. Kai opened his eyes. And for the first time, the universe felt the presence of its next protector. The first power of Kai. The entire sky turned golden. Every celestial hunter stopped moving. Kai stood at the center of the battlefield. The origin seal on his forehead was glowing brighter than ever. Naruto watched him carefully. Kai, are you okay? Kai nodded. I think so. He looked at his hands. I can feel something inside me. Veyron stepped forward. Don't release it all at once. Kai looked at him. Why? Because the origin seal doesn't contain normal chakra. Quote. It contains the power to change reality. Kai became nervous. I don't want to hurt anyone. Naruto placed a hand on his shoulder. Then don't think about power. Think about what you want to protect. Quote. Kai nodded. The hunter commander suddenly raised his sword. Enough. He charged toward Kai. Naruto immediately moved. But before Naruto could reach him, Kai raised his hand. A golden barrier appeared. The commander's sword struck the barrier. Boom. The entire battlefield shook. Kai stared at the barrier. I did that. Naruto smiled. Yes. The commander attacked again. The barrier remained. He attacked again. And again. Nothing happened. The commander became furious. What is this power? Veyron answered. The origin seal doesn't create barriers. It creates possibilities. The commander stopped. What? Veyron looked at Kai. Every time he believes something is possible, reality adjusts itself. Sasuke narrowed his eyes. That means. Veyron nodded. He doesn't need to become stronger. He only needs to believe. The commander suddenly disappeared. He reappeared behind Kai. His sword moved toward Kai's back. Naruto appeared between them. The blade struck Naruto's shoulder. Blood splashed across the ground. Kai's eyes widened. Naruto. Naruto fell to one knee. The commander raised his sword again. Kai screamed, "Stop!" The origin seal exploded. A golden shockwave blasted the commander across the battlefield. He crashed into a mountain. Kai ran toward Naruto. "You're hurt." Naruto smiled. "It's nothing." Kai shook his head. "You got hurt because of me." Naruto looked into his eyes. "No, I got hurt because I chose to protect you." Quote. Kai became silent. Naruto stood. "Never feel guilty for someone else's choice." Kai nodded. The commander slowly stood. His armor was broken. He looked at Kai. "You still don't understand what you are." Quote. Kai looked at him. "Then explain." The commander pointed toward the origin seal. "You aren't the next guardian. You are the key to the guardian system itself." Everyone became silent. Veyron's expression changed. "What did you say?" The commander continued. "The guardian system has always required a source. Every guardian borrowed power from the same ancient core. That core is inside Kai." Naruto looked at Veyron. "Is that true?" Veyron slowly nodded. "I never knew." The commander laughed. "Of course you didn't. Even the guardians were never told the whole truth." Kai looked frightened. "What happens if I lose control?" Quote. The commander answered. "Every universe will change." Naruto stepped forward. "Then we'll make sure he doesn't lose control." The commander looked at Naruto. "You still don't understand. This isn't a battle you can win with friendship." Quote. Naruto smiled. "Maybe. But friendship has saved me more times than any technique." Sasuke stood beside him. "He's right." Sakura joined them. "Then let's finish this." Kakashi raised his headband. Team 7. Naruto smiled. Team 7. Minato laughed. "Looks like I'm joining too." Sasuke sighed. "Of course." Naruto looked toward Kai. "You ready?" Kai took a deep breath. "I'm ready." The hunter commander raised his sword. "Then come." The final battle began. Naruto and Minato attacked from opposite directions. Sasuke opened a dimensional portal. Kakashi used Kamui. Sakura destroyed the ground beneath the commander. The commander blocked every attack. Then Kai stepped forward. He raised his hand. The golden sky began changing. Thousands of possibilities appeared around him. In one possibility, Naruto attacked. In another, Minato attacked. In another, Sasuke attacked. Kai suddenly understood. He didn't need to choose one possibility. He could combine them. The possibilities merged. Naruto appeared beside Minato. Sasuke appeared above them. Kakashi and Sakura appeared on opposite sides. Kai stood at the center. Now, all 5 attacks struck simultaneously. The commander's sword shattered. His armor broke apart. He fell to the ground. Silence filled the battlefield. The celestial hunters lowered their weapons. The commander looked toward Kai. "You have awakened." Kai walked toward him. "What happens now?" The commander smiled. "Now they will come." Naruto frowned. "Who?" The commander looked toward the sky. "The ones who created the celestial hunters." His body began turning into light. "They have been waiting for the origin seal to awaken." Quote. Kai looked frightened. Naruto stepped beside him. "Then we'll face them too." Far above the battlefield, a gigantic red portal opened. A voice echoed from inside. "Guardian, your awakening has begun." Quote. "Now, let us see whether you are worthy of carrying the power of creation." The portal opened completely. Something enormous began descending from it. And even Veyron looked terrified.